Now, following protests against police brutality, Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has proposed a law to curb police abuse. Demonstrators are angered over the taxi driver who was shot dead by a police officer on Thursday after a brawl on a Cairo street. State media is saying that Egypt's Interior Ministry says the policeman has been detained. Earlier, the ministry said the officer fired by mistake. Medical staff have also been protesting after two doctors said they were beaten by police. Rob Matheson has this report.
Fury on the streets of Cairo. Angry crowds gather outside police headquarters after an officer shoots and kills a 24-year-old taxi driver. The head of the security service has promised the officer will be arrested. The pressure on Egypt's police is growing. Public protests against them are increasing, even though the government of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has effectively banned large demonstrations.
The fact that they are protesting shows that there is some very serious concerns, because at this moment everyone who's been protesting has been jailed, and the fact that this is an ad hoc random protest should be a signal to the government that things are not good from the populist perspective.
Only a week ago, thousands of medics filled the streets outside their hospitals, accusing the police of brutality. Two doctors are said to have been beaten up by officers while working at a Cairo hospital in January. The doctors have said in television interviews that the police pulled a gun after a dispute about treatment for an injured officer. Medical staff are threatening to go on strike if the officers aren't held to account. And on Saturday, doctors say they'll defy the police and the government again with large, very public demonstrations. Rob Matheson, Al Jazeera.
Well, we're joined now by our Middle East analyst, Yahya Ghanem. Good to have you here in the studio. We've been hearing just in the past hour President Sisi announcing that there will be a crackdown on police brutality, that abuse won't be tolerated. Do you think this is enough for the protesters to step down, calm down and go home?
Well, I don't believe that that this is the language that Mr. Sisi have used. He just, talked briefly about the necessity of passing a law to restrict the excessive use of violence by the police. But in the meantime, he overlooked the excessive, the magnitude, the huge magnitude of excessive violence used by the army. For instance, look at the army. The firepower of the army is actually more lethal than the police.
Okay, but it is a change of tone that we're seeing from Sisi, whereas before he seemed to condone police attacking civilians, and now he's saying at least this is not acceptable. It can't happen.
I believe the mass disgruntled that Egypt has been witnessing recently is the main reason for Sisi to come out with this statement.
Of course, but is it enough?
But in the meantime, no laws in the world can stop the excessive use of violence as long as the head of the state himself. I remember 2 years ago, Mr. Sisi was addressing men in uniform, and he explicitly encouraged them to use excessive use of violence against civilians, and he promised them that nobody will be punished. Which Sisi should I personally believe?
Which Sisi do you think the protesters are going to listen to? Are they going to be hopeful that this time there will be a crackdown?
Let's think of his statement today as a positive development. But again, what about the impunity that has been given by the head of the state to the police? This impunity that all the human rights organizations are talking about these days, this will make any law, even new laws passed, obsolete. Now, it's a whole matrix. If you don't have an independent judiciary, okay, if you don't have a strong NGOs that monitors the excessive use of violence by the police and the army. Just yesterday, they shut down the last organization for human rights, the Al-Nadim Center. And as I always say, these organizations actually serve positively both the state, the regime, and the public, because they serve as mirrors, so that the regime can see its image in it. When it gets ugly, he can always make it look good.
How concerned should Sisi be about these protests? People breaking a barrier of fear, our Al Jazeera editor in Egyptian Affairs talking about, and remembering, of course, that it was breaking that barrier of fear that helped spark the 2011 protests that toppled Mubarak.
If I were him, I would be very concerned. I'll be very, very concerned. It's the moment the people take their law in their hands, this is where the head of the state should feel concerned and should do his utmost to stop this excessive use, but honestly and truly stop it. Not just, you know, soft words to calm down the feelings of the public. Vigilantism is on the way, and I hope it doesn't happen on a full scale in Egypt. God forbid that it will happen.
Don't we all? Okay, Yahya Ghanem, thanks very much. We'll leave it there for the moment.
Thank you.